Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Another Lewis and Clark comedy showcase. Give it up for Lewis and Clark. They're such, and if you don't know who Max Pigman is, he's the owner. Just such a great patron of the arts, not just comedy but music and everything. So just thrilled that they are dedicated to giving us an opportunity. Yeah, move up. Grab a closer table. We don't bite much, often. Only half of us do. Couple rules. There are no rules. There's bathrooms just out to the left. If you need another drink, please help yourself. They are going to have somebody circulating to take orders, so you shouldn't need to leave if you don't want to. Yeah, we'll keep it light and happy. So everybody doing good? Woo! Yeah, good. Who's not doing good? Statistically, there's like 4 of you who are not doing good. No one wants to admit it. It's okay. I just want to gauge. You know, we're going to evaluate now and then at the end of the show, and I have an Excel spreadsheet. We track all this. Get reimbursements from the federal government. I'm ashamed to admit this, but I've sort of taken a mental break from the news and haven't really been keeping track of some stuff. But who won the war on drugs? Is that over?
Drugs.
Yeah, it feels like drugs won. That's just my assessment. Which, poor Nancy Reagan, you know. God, she put all of she invested everything. Like the word no was like the Bitcoin of the early 80s. Oh yeah, this will work. This single syllable, 2-letter word is much better than getting high. Turns out no. It's not. The word no lost against psilocybin, cannabinoids, methamphetamines, all these complicated words. And the getting high part, I guess that was an important part of it. You'd think that they would have won, you know, the greatest country in the world. But no. Well, anyway, it is what it is. Sure, go get high. Who cares, right? My wife's out of town. This is the first show that she has missed. And I'm bummed about that because usually she sets up all the chairs and I had to do that with the help of Danny. Can we get Danny a round of applause? Thank you, Danny. Having my wife out of town means that I can wear the same clothes 2 days in a row without shame, which is a nice thing. And I woke up this morning and it was like the tooth fairy came and visited because my shorts, boxers, t-shirt were all like right there. Just feet come out of the bed, right there, put them on. Don't judge me, screw you. Put them on. I took 3 steps to the bathroom and something kind of fell out of the clothing and just threw a little plop on the floor. And all right, put a pin in that for a second. We have an old, deaf, demented dog. He's about 16 years old. He's a big dog, so like, you know, you hear 16 years old, and Chihuahuas live until they're like 38 or something. You know, he's a purebred New Mexico brown dog, or also known as a New Mexico gas station dog. They're very rare and robust. Anyway, in his older ages, this is my interpretation, I assume he has the greatest dreams ever, because while he's sleeping, a little poop ball just pops out and just gets deposited in random places around the house. And one of his prime sleeping spots is right next to my bed. So it took me, you know, my non-caffeinated brain was not processing, and this thing that had fallen out was a poop ball, and I was like, did I just shit myself? I don't remember anything weird last night. And there was no one to like confer with. So finally I figured it out. It was more than likely him, but who knows? Yeah. I did take all those clothes off, and though I'll wear them tomorrow. Yeah. Well, you guys are an awesome crowd. I like that. Yeah. Thank you. I think every one of us has the ability to be awesome at something. I'm not pandering. I'm not telling you like, you know, you could, like that guy there could play in the NBA. We all know. I mean, when the lights go on, you can see him. There's no mystery there. But no, we could all be really awesome at something, and we should spend our time trying to figure that out and really putting our time and energy into that. And the sad thing is, there's one thing in this country that a ton of people are really good at. They're just awesome at it. And that is doing nothing. And that's great, because doing nothing, it's the alt-right, left, central, socialist, woke, clean energy, jobs creating, non-binary option that we all like. I mean, it just checks all those boxes. And the great thing is you know, when they do nothing, the world works pretty well. But when they do something, or anything, like buy milk, or start a podcast, or God forbid vote, they screw shit up for the rest of us. So if you're one of those people that's really good at doing nothing, please keep doing it. And if you know somebody else who is great at doing nothing, encourage them. Really, you know, get behind them, help them out, give them a few coins so they can't. And then tell them to celebrate, you know, November Tuesdays and never leave their house in November. So, yeah, if that went over your head, you shouldn't vote either. So, you know, we used to think that humans were so special because we live in complex societies with lots of rules. And we now know that that's not true. There's tons of animals that do that. Monkeys and dolphins and whales, and even wolves. And then we thought, anthropologists thought, oh, we're so special because we're the only animals on Earth that make and use their own tools. And we know that's not true either. Again, monkeys and even birds do it. The one thing that does differentiate us from all other animals on the Earth, we're the only animals that make excuses. We're really, really good at it. Like right now, I'm making an excuse if this bit doesn't go well, I'm just gonna blame you. So, yeah, absolutely. Because it worked before. I did that at Jester's. I got laughs at Jester's Bar. Yeah. Do you know how hard it is to get a laugh at Jester's Bar?
Was it open?
It wasn't. That's a good question. That's a very good question. I mean, the regulars who sit in, anyway, it's a great place. They have a great open mic on Thursdays, by the way. You guys fans of the Oregon Trail?
What's
Yeah, what's not to love? All right, I know we have some out-of-towners from Arkansas, right?
Yes.
No, of course not. I lived in Kansas for a little bit, and they called that river the Arkansas River. And I said, how do you guys say that? And then you got Arkansas just down the road. I don't know. There needs to be like a war about that or something. Anyway, the Oregon Trail. This is a true story about a young woman, Abigail Jane Scott. She was a 17-year-old young woman who was traveling the Oregon Trail with her family in 1852. She was part of a 60-long wagon train. It started out from Illinois. And like every trip on the Oregon Trail, the first few months were not without incident. Lives were lost, water was scarce, food was unreliable. But things were looking up. On June 29th, they hit Independence Rock. Independence Rock is a real rock in the middle of central Wyoming. Anybody been there? No. Yeah, I think it's like a truck stop now. Anyway, Independence Rock, if you were there by July 4th, you were on schedule. So they were 5 days ahead of schedule. A lot of reason to celebrate. The other thing was Independence Rock was this enormous granite island in the middle of prairies. So it was the first thing, the first diversion from that flat rolling prairie land. And then on top of that, there was a tradition for the last 30 years that all the kids would climb up and scramble up and mark their names with axle grease or paint or even etching it in. And there's still some etchings there. If you go to certain caves, you can see people who had marked their trip across the Oregon Trail in the early 1800s. And Jenny was no different. She was 17 years old. She wanted to climb up that rock and mark her name. And the goal was to get as high as you could and mark your name. And the captain of the wagon train warned her and said, you know, there's a storm coming, so you better get up and down quick. And she climbed up and she said, screw that, I need to mark my name. She climbed all the way up and got up there and found a nice spot, and then sees the wagon train leaving her. And so she climbed down, and by the time she got down, the train was gone. Just left her. Imagine if you left your kid in Costco for like 30 seconds. But she caught back up. They just wanted to teach her a lesson a little bit, or at least that's what she wrote in her diary. Never got to mark her name. Never got to leave her mark in history. That's kind of sad. They got to Oregon safely, and she married at the age of 18, just a few months later. And life was not much easier after that. She was cooking and cleaning for her husband and every other single guy in their little area. It was a weird, really stupid tradition. I don't know who came up with that idea. And then eventually her husband got injured on work and couldn't work, and she had to go out and get multiple jobs. She was a teacher, she ran a boarding house, and then she became the editor of a newspaper. And she was sick and tired of not being able to make her own choices and live her life because she couldn't vote. And so she put up all of her effort and energy behind the suffrage movement. And if you don't know what the suffrage movement is, it's the right to vote for women. And if you don't know that, again, please don't vote. Well, maybe you can now, but. Oh, boo, boo. We don't have reading tests and voting boos. We got other more rigid rules to keep people from voting. Oh, come on, relax. Look, if anybody gets offended, we did this last time, it worked well. We have thoughts and prayers suppositories we're handing out on the way out. They work just as well as thoughts and prayers. And we actually added a little CBD because we went too heavy on the thoughts last time. It got people a little wild. Like, people got pulled over for driving afterwards. So yeah, they work. They work. Long acting is great. So anyway, Abigail Jane Scott pushed hard and dedicated the rest of her life to the women's right to vote. And then she died 3 years before the 19th Amendment, the women's right to vote. So she never got to see that right, unfortunately. But we know her name. Hopefully you'll remember her name now. And I think there's two important lessons here. One, this is kind of a scientific one. We have the ability to travel back in time. Well, at least women do. Women can go back and feel like it's like in the 1950s. Yeah, we haven't figured it out for men. It's a hard nut to crack, but we got to crack that nut. We got to crack that nut wide open, right? Yeah, we do. Hell yeah. Yeah. Did that go over everybody's head?
I ran out pretty short.
All right. The second lesson is that teenagers in the 1800s, the 1900s, and 2000s, no different. They're all punk-ass little bitches that like to mark up public property. Hey, we got a great show for you tonight. I know that was a little education heavy for you. Hopefully you'll tolerate it. But again, ask us, we got those suppositories for you. Just a reminder, there is comedy here tomorrow in this very same room. I believe it starts at 7 o'clock, so check that out. Great comedian who is traveling across the nation, and one of his openers is here tonight for us. In fact, he is coming up right now. So put your hands together, straight out of Bozeman, Eli Singleton.